Let's see how powerful can be inspecting not just the standard flows but the entire content of the payload. On this example that my friend Josh Morin, he provided me the pickup. He sanitized all the fields to make sure that there was no customer information in here. When I replay that pickup, I got these 3 offenses firing. By the way, notice that Watson, due to the IOCs involved in here, who is well aware of what is happening out there, is telling me that these things are high priority. So let's take a look at the first. And here we have 2 flows, and we're going to see those in detail. There's this external IP. More on that later, but let's look at the rules that fire. Detected file hash associated with COVID malware. So there was something in here that QNI got the hash, and is on a table of bad things related to COVID, and that's what is fine. But also there was another rule that also contributed here, which is the subject line has been seen in campaigns for phishing people with COVID. Okay, so let's take a look at the second offense that fire. And just by the description, it doesn't look good, right? RDP, so that's somebody logging into a system and a JA3 fingerprint. Very cool technology. JA3, in spite of the fact that this thing was encrypted, JA3 is telling me this thing went to a site that is known to be bad. And I've done some other videos on JA3 on QNI. You can watch those in part, I believe, part 2 or 3 of this video series. But this is very telling. I mean, I don't know what they did, but there was an RDP session to a bad site. Let's see the other offense. And this one is kind of saying, well, actually 4 offenses firing here. Looks like there's been data going out. Notice these 2 rules are firing on that. The bad guys were not careful enough to get certificates that were up to date. And this one is the most telling one. There is a DNS activity, you know, and we can actually see the details of the actual rule. But this is actually a DNS communication with known DNS that are related with phishing campaigns. So all these things are pretty interesting. How can we better understand? I mean, QNI was great on detecting it, but we want to really get the picture together. So let's actually grab those 3 IP addresses, the source IP address. One of these is external, these are internal, and actually see them in the network activity tab. Sorry for the change from dark mode to clear mode. And so here we have these sorted starting October the 30th, November 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. So if we hover over this is actually something located in Lithuania. And let's see what is actually this is all about. We want to understand this better. Again, this is QNI inspecting the content of the payload. And we can see that this is an email being sent. And this is what Josh Morin put in here, and the Jefferson acme.com, so he sanitized all this, but we actually see that there is a piece of mail with a suspicious content, and there is a file apparently, that guidelines.doc. Yeah, and good, and that's how QRATA got the hashes and figured these things out. But QNI is going to be getting a lot of those emails. But what is it that made this one particularly important? Well, notice that this is a Microsoft Word document and got the file hash, and that tripped in the rule that it has a table for known hashes or malicious artifacts, and that one got a trigger. Well, let's see what happened on November 1st. Let's actually open one of these flows, and we see that there is a JA3 hash. Let's actually see if we can understand what is it in there. Let's actually grab that. And this is a JA3 SSL fingerprint site, similar to what VirusTotal does with standard hashes, but these are JA3 hashes. Again, there is a separate video that talks about the value of this. But let's see if we can understand what this is all about. And notice that it's telling me the fingerprint of my own browser in here. So if we paste that hash, the JA3 hash, and see what do we get here, and this is a QAK botnet. So again, no wonder. I mean, QRATA has a table that gets updated from this site with the malicious JA3 hashes. And when it detected that from the payload, it actually allowed that rule to fire. Let's go back and try to put all the pieces together. So that is the email. This is what we just saw on the JA3. Let's actually take a look at this. Well, actually, this is very telling already. 3389 is RDP. It's the port for RDP, right? So let's see what we can figure out from here. So from this first one, I don't see anything meaningful here. Okay, let's see what else can we find. Let's look at the next one. Well, there are JA3 hashes. Let's actually grab this one and go back to that site and figure out what can we get to know. Well, we don't need that extra space there. Let's actually search for that one and see what do we get. WebEx, Steam, Mozilla, RDP client, Tor website. So definitely this was used to covertly logging into a site. So let's see what else can we get from this story. Down here we see that this port 53 denotes communication to a bad DNS. Let's actually click on one of them and see what we can get from here. Let's see the payload. FastBloodHunter.com. Let's actually investigate that guy. So I'm going into the website. I'm putting that between quotes. I don't want to definitely go to that site and see what do we get. Ryuk. So this is a domain that is known to work with Riot. So Cobalt Strike. Okay, this is making sense what happened here. So let's actually see these ones. That is, they go via SSL in here and see what we can learn from here. Oh, look at that in the payload. That's not good. The Dropbox, that means that some information went out. So let's from these offenses that fire, we can get that somebody click on an email that they are not supposed to. We see that that Cobalt, shellcode stuff happens next. There was an RDP session, and that's probably what used to exfiltrate the data before encrypting the machine, because that's what Ryuk does. We can see the connection here to that site on 53, and we see the Dropbox connection. So a quick way of seeing, the value. I mean, there was no flow in, no logs in here. We wanted to make you aware of this. The bad guys are hiding to make sure that there are no logs that tell the situation. But in the network, all these things happen, and QNI was able to not only fire offenses that warn me about it, but allows me to recreate what is it that happened there. Thanks very much, Josh Morin, for bringing this to my attention.